Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to logical fallacies. So these are key to understanding bad arguments in philosophy, and once you start to recognize them, they become very obvious. So fallacy basically just means an error. It just means a logical error. If we're debating about the truth in philosophy, then we want to try to minimize error as much as possible. When you use a fallacy, you're simply using reasoning that isn't going to reliably get you to the truth. Here's a basic definition. What makes something true or false in philosophy is reason and evidence. Anything else is irrelevant and a logical error. So here's an example of a logical fallacy. This is called an ad-hominem. Ad-hominem, this is Latin for to the man, and is where you attack the person and not the argument. For example, we can't trust anything he says. He doesn't have any qualifications. What could he know about Chinese history? He's from Europe. This guy is so stupid. Don't listen to anything he says. The simple problem with these is you're attacking the person, not the argument, and it doesn't matter who says something. The argument is either true or false. It doesn't matter if the person has qualifications or if he's stupid, which is a subjective claim anyway. Is what he's saying correct or not? That's all that matters. So here's another example. It's called a red herring. So this simply means to distract or change the subject to avoid an argument or question. For example, someone asks, has healthcare increased in effectiveness under your leadership? And he responds, well, what really is health anyway? Can someone really be truly healthy? Or someone asks, do you believe in God? And someone responds, what do you mean by believe? So this is simply just avoiding the question or changing the subject to avoid answering a difficult question or criticism. So the last one, what do you mean by believe, can be a legitimate question, but not when it's fairly obvious and someone's already said what they mean by believe. Then it's just distraction. Next example is an argument from authority. You say something is true because someone in authority or with qualifications said it is. For example, murder is wrong because the Bible says it is. 2 + 2 = 4 because my maths teacher said so. General relativity is true because Einstein wrote it. So again, it doesn't matter who says something, it's either true or false based on the reason and the evidence. There are a wide variety of logical fallacies, and I plan to make videos on most of them. So to give a real-world example of these logical fallacies, let's look at a crime scene. So we use philosophical principles in crime scenes to minimize errors. Someone stole some jewelry from a house. You are at the crime scene and need to work out who stole the jewelry. How do you work out who did it while minimizing error? I'll show you some bad methodologies. Let's accuse the neighbor of stealing, because they were the closest to the crime scene. So this will be an argument from proximity, which is irrelevant to if they actually did it or not. The person closest to the crime scene didn't automatically steal it. It's irrelevant. Let's accuse the person across the street. The police chief has a suspicion it was him. Again, it doesn't matter what someone in authority or the police chief says. The reason and evidence is what matters. Let's accuse a poor person. Statistics show that they commit more crime. So you can't apply statistics about society, if they're true or not, to an individual case about a crime. Just because maybe poor people commit more crime, you can debate if that's true or not. It doesn't mean that in this situation, the poor person stole it. You have to prove that. Next, how about this? Let's take a vote among all the detectives and accuse the person we all think did it. This is an argument from majority. So whatever the majority says must be true. Again, this is irrelevant reason and evidence. So the methodology we actually use tries to minimize error and increase fairness. So we look at the evidence of the crime scene to work out who did it. We use DNA, methods of entrance, footprints, broken glass. We try to find any witnesses who saw what happened. We try to find any CCTV footage of or near the event. And by reason, we do this. The window is broken and there is glass inside, so they probably entered through the window. Or we only see footprints of one person, so there is likely only one suspect. So we look at the evidence of the crime scene and we try to make logical arguments about the evidence to try and work out who did it. If we can't prove someone did it through the evidence, then we don't accuse anyone. This is to minimize error and punishing innocent people. Of course, if you use a flawed methodology, you could find the person who actually stole the jewelry, but it's very unreliable and you might be wrong. Imagine you were wrongly accused of stealing the jewelry, and the police said, as justification, "The police chief said you look suspicious." Would you accept this as a legitimate reason to accuse you? Probably not. So you shouldn't use the same reasoning in logical arguments by saying something like, "You're wrong because my professor said so." The exact same methodology is used in philosophy. When we are trying to find the truth, we try to minimize error as much as possible. The reason we use reason and evidence, because it's been shown in past experiments that it's the most reliable way to minimize error. So some people commit logical fallacies unintentionally. This can happen, of course. You could argue from emotion, you can argue from majority, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're being manipulative or it's a tactic. You simply have to point it out and show them their error. If they keep committing the same mistakes, only then it can be considered manipulative or not arguing in good faith. So I'll make a future video about arguing in good faith and to explain what that means. But as for now, thanks for watching.